Welcome back to another video, guys. Today we're going to review the 2022 Road King Special in mineral green denim. Now, I thought this was a repeat of another color of the military looking Softail Slim they did back in 2015. They called that color olive gold denim. Now, it's been a while since I've seen that bike in person, but just looking at the photos, and I'll throw one up on the screen now so you can see what I'm talking about, I honestly can't tell a difference. So it's possible they just renamed this paint. Now, this bike has a retail, Now this bike has a retail price of $23,429, and if you want it in this color option, it's gonna add another 500 bucks. I've always been a really big fan of the Road King. I like the big nacelle on the front. I just think it looks like a traditional Harley. When I think of Harley, I think the first bike that comes to mind would be like a Road King with some 14, 15-inch bars, something like that on there. Big fan of this bike, handles great, looks great, has a lot of features, and then when Harley released this S model, I was really sold. So with that, let's jump into the review. Real quick, before we jump into the review, I want to ask a favor of you guys, and that's if you're not subscribed already, but you do watch a lot of my videos. I know it's an easy thing to do. I do it myself. Start watching a channel and just never think about subscribing. That would really, really help me out, pump the numbers, help me grow the channel, do more giveaways, do more cool stuff. So if you're not subscribed already, please consider doing so. With that, let's jump into the review. So this is the first Road King Special that Timms Harley Davidson has gotten in. Like I said, it's the mineral green colorway, mineral green denim, sorry. And there's two other colors this year. There's the crimson red, which we had seen on a few bikes last year. I'm a big fan of that one. And then there's also the vivid black color option. Black's always gonna be your cheapest. Adding color on this particular bike ends up adding 500 extra bucks, like I said in the beginning of the video. Also, before we start, I want to ask you guys a quick question. I didn't know this until I started working in a dealership, but apparently some people believe that green motorcycles are bad luck. Give me your thoughts on that. With that, I've also sold a lot of green motorcycles, but some people are superstitious. They don't like green for whatever reason. So let me know if you've ever heard of that, or let me know if you believe in that. Hey, like, I believe in some weird stuff, so I'm not gonna knock you, just genuinely curious to know where you guys stand on that one. So we're gonna slightly switch things up on this one. We're gonna start at the very front of the bike, and the reason for that being, like I said, one thing that sells me on the Road King is that big nacelle on the front. Just super clean. I like that big headlight they put on the front of this thing. You do get an LED. It is a day maker. No, we didn't get LED turn signals. I made a promise to one of the subscribers. I'll call that out on every single bike that doesn't have them, and we're gonna try to get Harley's attention with that. So, like this video so that Harley Davidson corporate is more likely to see it. But another thing I like about this bike is you do get these big fat handlebars, almost an oversized looking bar. It's kind of hard to tell in the video, and you can see right here where the controls slide on, size of the normal bars, and you can see this is a fatter bar. Again, really clean look on the front end of this bike. That black powder coat from the headlight goes all the way down the fork legs to a really nice black wheel. So just out of the box, this front end looks really good. And I like that on these blacked out bikes, Harley gives you the blacked out lowers. Obviously, it would look silly if they didn't, but it does bug me that on chrome models, you don't get chrome lowers. That's kind of a drag. On this bike, doesn't matter, but you know what I'm saying. You also do have the bolts here, so if you want to do the quick detach windshield, you have the option to put that hardware in there very easily if you want to run the windshield. So we happen to have a regular Road King here that does come with the windshield. So for those that are wondering, you literally just pull back on that thing, so you would pull it away from the bike and lift up, and that will slide out of there. And just as easy to put back on. Now, I will say the windshield doesn't look the greatest, but on a long ride, it really doesn't matter. It knocks the wind down, especially when it's cold, or if you're getting torn up by bugs and stuff. It's nice to have. I would rarely run it, but I would like the option to. Also, really quickly, I will do a versus series on this bike. Actually, I'll make that the next video. So I'll compare the Road King Special to the regular Road King for those that are interested in that. All right, jumping back over here to this Road King, we're gonna go back to the A side of this bike. I wanted to point out that on the engine guard, being a special model, you do get that smaller engine guard, which, as I've said in the past, I think looks a lot better, significantly better. I'll show you an example. So here's what the engine guard looks like on the non-special models. So whether it be a Road Glide, Street Glide, Road King, that's the engine guard. Same one Harley's been doing for a good while now. I know at least since Rushmore, so 2014. I don't know if it was any different than that before. I can't remember. Let me know in the comments if you can recall. But then on the special models, you do get that smaller one that looks significantly better. Now, being that this bike is in the touring family, you are gonna get that big 6-gallon gas tank, which people are gonna appreciate on those longer rides. Nice clean console here. Kind of show you guys an aerial view of it. So you have the analog speedo, a little bit of digital info. I feel the need to show this on all these bikes. Sorry to those that watch a lot of the reviews. It's just, I don't know if somebody's watching one of these for the first time that's not familiar with Harley. So I do want to show it. As you see, you have 1 mile on the bike. Toggle through, you have trip A, trip B. How many miles till empty? Your clock. And then this is going to show you what gear you're in as well as your RPMs. So it's not going to show a gear obviously when it's in neutral as it is now, or if you're in gear but have the clutch in, it won't display the gear. Then you have all your normal little warning lights up there, and then a little cluster of them here, turn signals, stuff like that. Your ignition switch here, which does lock. You just pull that over there, you can lock it. They do have the, I call it a dummy gas tank. It's a fuel gauge over here, although again it tells you how many miles till empty right there. But you do have a fuel gauge, which I'll admit, if it will focus, which I'll admit is kind of nice. However, I don't like the fact that you have this gas cap that doesn't do anything. You only fill up your gas obviously on the high side of the bike there. With that one, some people don't know that. Again, sorry for those that are super familiar with Harley or have been riding longer than I've been alive, but we're kind of a big group here. New, old, experience, no experience. So we got to cover all the bases. Now this bike does come with the big 114 Milwaukee 8. I was really hoping for two things on this bike. I was kind of speculating the 107 would go away, making the 114 the smaller engine, the 117 the bigger engine. So I was hoping for a 117 in this bike. Not that it needs it. It definitely does not need it, but I mean, if you can, why not, you know? So I was hoping for that. And then I was hoping on the gauge here that we were gonna get a similar but bigger size as to what like the Sportster S has, where it's got the built-in navigation, controls for your music if you're running audio in your helmet or whatnot. You can see all that stuff. A lot of the bike diagnostics are on there. I know that kind of takes a classic looking bike and moves it into the future, but my school of thought on that is I'd rather have it and then just choose not to use it. If you don't want to pair your phone to it or do any of that stuff, you don't have to. The bike still operates. But for those of us that want it, it would be nice if you gave it to us. So a real quick look at the controls. Most people are going to be familiar with this. Your kill and run switch, your hazards, your start, right turn signal, high beams, left turn signal. You do have cruise control on the Road King. Being a touring bike, I feel like that's super necessary. So I'm glad Harley did give us that. You have your little trip button over here, and that's what I was using to cycle through right there on the display. The Road King does come equipped with 2-up riding. That's going to be the same seat that's on your Road Glide Special, Street Glide Special, and both versions of the Road King. Harley's been doing that seat for a good while now. I have logged a significant amount of miles on that seat. Too many to count, honestly. So on my personal bike, this is just a little pro tip, hack, call it what you will. I don't know if it's just me, but I tend to be a little more sensitive to the heat, even on the bikes that aren't putting out a ton of heat. So I take my seat off and I take heat reflective tape and I line the bottom of the seat. I go long ways down the bottom of the seat and then I go side to side, creating 2 layers, and I notice that significantly cuts down the heat that rises up from that engine and comes through that seat. That's something I've found that's helped me. I haven't found this seat super uncomfortable, but cosmetically I have seen some that I like a lot better. I mean, there's always like a Saddleman or something. You're gonna spend a lot of money, but looks great, feels great. This one will get you by until you're ready to do that though. Being a special model, you do have the stretched bags here, which cut out for the exhaust. I've pointed this out so many times. I hate to do it to you guys again, but not a fan of the stretched bags. I prefer the regular standard bags. Just if you go to a single-sided exhaust, it's a little better. Also from the side, I just kind of like the look better of the regular bag. Real quick, for those that haven't seen them, this is what a regular Saddlebag looks like. As you can see, sits above the exhaust with no cutout, and then it's a straight line across the bottom. So these are still the nice one-touch bags with the little latch there. The thought that Harley used to do that real awkward like hinge thing right there where that reflector is, and kind of takes 2 hands to do it, 1 hand to get in the bags. But what I wanted to show you guys with the stretch bags, you don't get that much more room. I mean, it's a tiny, tiny little amount. So it's literally gonna be like that. So it's just a cosmetic thing. You don't get more room. Also, one thing I don't remember if I've ever pointed out or not, to take these bags off, fairly easy. These literally just twist and you can unscrew them both, pull the bags off. Really helps if you need to clean your bike. They come off pretty quick. They used to use a little pin system, but apparently those weren't holding on the best, and I'd heard stories about some people that lost a saddlebag on the highway, which is very unfortunate, especially if you have like expensive belongings in there or something. So Harley's gone to this system. Really good system, easy to use and very durable. Really quickly, another thing I wanted to point out is the docking hardware or lack of. So typically, if you're riding a touring bike, you're usually gonna have a passenger at least at some points during your ride. So if you wanna run a backrest, a luggage rack, a tour pack, anything you want to securely attach to the back of this bike, you would insert some quick detach hardware there. It's 170 bucks, I believe, on Harley Davidson's website. I want these bikes to start coming with that just because that's such a common thing. It's gonna cost Harley a little less to put it on there than it's gonna cost you, even if they have to increase the bike by 60 bucks or whatever they need to do that. I really wish they would, and then just offer it, because it does come in chrome and black. If the bike is blacked out like this one, give them the black one. If it's chromed out, give them the chrome one. If they want to spend their own money to swap it out, at that point, then they're free to do so. While we're back here and while we're picking on Harley Davidson, I am a fan of Harley. I have to be unbiased and give you my honest opinion, and I have to be a voice for the people. So we're gonna knock you guys one more time for these halogen signals. I can appreciate that the turn signals and the brake lights are built into those 2 lights. You don't have some big, crazy, elaborate looking thing. You're also gonna have a little running light down here. Not really a fan of that, as far as like, falls in that same category as the stretched bag, but it is more lighting. I mean, lighting on a bike is important, so we'll give them that one. So one thing Harley stopped doing, I think they stopped it in 21, was including hill shifters on their touring bikes. The CVOs come with them, but as far as I can remember from last year, that was the only bike that got the hill shifter. I'm not a fan of it, so I wasn't sad to see it go. I end up tossing it in the trash anyway, and this is the exact setup that I would do. I would put a little spacer on here, and I guess that is something we'll point out, is if you do want to run a hill shifter, you still can. You just take the spacer off. But I would put a spacer on mine, move my toe shifter out. I tend to kind of sit, you know, I guess duck-footed would be the term, on the bike on longer rides, so it just moves my shifter out, makes it a little easier for me to hit, creates more room right here on the floorboard for my feet, so I'm not missing the hill shifter. I'll point out that on the Road King Special, which this is, you get passenger pegs. On the regular Road King, you do get small passenger floorboards. So as far as your passenger, I've heard some passengers say they like these better, but that's going to be a personal preference. I just think they use those smaller pegs to keep the look of this bike clean, and they do a good job at doing that, so I like those. As most people know, and some don't, 2021, we also saw the hydraulic clutch go away. So most of your actually all of your touring models, from what I remember, had the hydraulic clutch. That went away in 2021. And the general consensus, what I've gathered, is that the majority of people like that. And that's because the clutch, the cable clutch, has more adjustability. It's got a better feedback, better feel, a little bit longer, wider friction zone. So for a lot of reasons, a lot of guys prefer the cable. And in the past, I've said that I preferred the hydraulic. I think what it is I liked about the hydraulic is how easy it was to use, but I do agree with all those things. And as far as feedback in the clutch and actually working a clutch like you would want to do, the cable is superior. I will definitely agree with that. So I'll give you the highlighted specs really quickly as we do a final walk around this bike. You have a seat height of 26.4 inches. Ground clearance is 4.9 inches. Your running order weight, meaning when it's got all of its gas, all of its oil, it's set up, ready to go, it's going to be 807 pounds. And as most of you know by now, Harley doesn't really like to put out their horsepower numbers, but they do give you the torque numbers. And this thing made 118 foot-pounds of torque. All right, guys, that's it for the Road King special review. As I said, I'm a big fan of this bike. However, I have never personally owned a Road King. So I'm trying to decide what I want to do this year, if I want to buy a bike to build for the channel, or how I want to go about doing that. A Road King is definitely on the list. There's a few other models, but a Road King would be on the list for sure. Let me know if you own a Road King, if you would consider buying a Road King, if this review turns you on or off from the Road King. Any feedback you guys give me greatly helps the channel, helps me learn what you guys want to see, what you don't want to see. Again, as a reminder, if you're not subscribed already, please consider doing so. If you made it this far, obviously like the video, so go ahead and give it a thumbs up for me, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.